just wanted to wish everybody listening a very, very good morning, Ecom!
Something about Hump Day.
Hump
What you would expect
Day!
for the Hump Day?
Well, we did the Hump Day last week. I thought we had to like spread that out. What's another Wednesday thing? Is it just Hump Day, like tacos on Tuesday? What's Wednesday?
Yeah, I think Wednesday has everything to do with the midweek. I don't know if there's a special. I don't know if there's a special saying for Wednesday. The Hump Day, I guess, took it.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to do as fast as I can, but I think we've got there's a few things involving certain tobacco product Wednesday. There's also Whiskey Wednesday. We all get behind that, I think.
Well, there
Whiskey
you go.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are there other tacos other than no? See, I'm going off the rails now. But good morning, Ecom. How are you, David Yarbrough in the house?
Yep, I am here, ready to talk some e-com. The world is a-moving, and we're going to talk about it.
And we're going to talk all about it. But before we talk about the world of e-commerce, I have something interesting to share. And now I want to preface this by saying, A, please, Chevron, don't sue us, because I understand you've not made this product yet. But it is rather interesting. And I read about this article, and I posted about it. For those of you that follow my LinkedIn, you'll find that article in there. That EPA has approved rather unnervingly a new fuel additive that's specifically for marine engines, right? Marine engines. And apparently it's going to kill you.
That's always a problem.
And in the article, and I'm using the article that was presented by ProPublica.org. It's about a 10-minute read, again, followed by my what's it called? LinkedIn. It is too early on a Wednesday for me to do this. But the EPA recognized that the model it used in the risk, they say, is not a realistic threat. But the scientists themselves are saying, hey, guys, the science is telling us that every single person that comes into contact with the fumes of this fuel additive will get cancer, and the chances are 100%.
So it won't just have that description that it just causes cancer in California?
No, not just in California. It's going to cause cancer everywhere.
So that's not Prop 65 or whatever. That must be a different prop.
There's different props on the engine and in government, and apparently if you come into contact with it, it's going to kill you.
Yeah, that's not good. I wonder if we've sacrificed for the good of the water or whatever. Now it's starting to impact our own health. It's like at some point you got to take a step back and be like, hold on a second, that's not right.
I mean, let's look at the bigger picture. I think too at the same time. The EPA has a threshold of risk that they say is okay. And that threshold, if you live near a factory, listen up, because it's acceptable that 1 out of 100,000 people in the area will get terminal cancer near these factories and petroleum refineries and other factories like it. There is an acceptable risk threshold.
Wow.
I had no idea.
They call that an ART.
What's that?
ART. Acceptable risk threshold.
Oh, you're just making stuff. I forgot you were a scientist, so ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I play one on Halloween every year.
I should start calling you Dr. Yarbrough.
Ooh, that's my dad.
Hey, that's your dad.
Yep.
Your dad's Dr. Yarbrough. Mr. Doctor.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's insane though, Ray. I don't understand. And again, how does that benefit the consumer? How does it benefit? I mean, obviously they're trying to protect the water. I guess that's what it is. It's cleaner burning for the environment, but the side effect is it hurts everybody else.
It's killing you and me, but saving the fish.
Which, if you think about it, depending on what side of the political spectrum you're on, that's either a really big deal or it's an eye-opener to the fact, what links will we go to protect other stuff other than us, right? It's crazy. Doesn't make any sense, really.
I completely agree. Completely agree. It's one of those situations where you look at that and go, "Wow!" So the EPA is going to basically say it's okay that 1 in 100,000 people get cancer near a factory, but the
Mm-hmm.
scientists are saying, "Hey, that's well and good, but every single person at the lake is going to get cancer." You live
Right.
next to a lake. What's the name of that lake called?
Ray Roberts.
Oh, right.
Lake Ray Roberts. You own it.
Well,
It's
I've been there a time or two.
when they try to charge me to to get my boat in the water, I'm like, I don't have to pay. I know the guy. Namesake.
I know Ray Roberts. Personally, we do a podcast together.
And they're like, sir, that's not possible. I'm like, you just don't know.
You have no idea what you're talking about
Mm-mm.
right now because I
Mm-mm.
have a famous lake and I refuse to have boil additive products on my lake.
No kill fuel. You don't want kill fuel.
No kill, no kill fuel. No NKF.
But it really does beg the question in a lot of things that you hear about these days when we're trying to call it what you want, save the environment, be more, recycle more, whatever it is. At what point do we take it too far to where it almost becomes laughable, right? You and I look at that and we go, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. Seriously, if I'm out on the boat, it's saving the fish, but everyone on my boat is going to die from it, of cancer at some point. It's like, doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. There's no sense to that.
And the reasoning behind it is reduction of cost of production. They're using a plastics polymer type material instead of their normal fuel additives, and that's what they're
Wow.
testing. It's to reduce cost.
It's weird though too that the scientist in me says boat marine fuel is the exact same as car fuel. Shouldn't be any different.
Apparently it will be. But if that's the case, if they continue to develop that, and the EPA is apparently giving approval under this, under special circumstance. I don't know what that means. So we need to look into that a little bit more. It is touting this as climate friendly, but it is, in fact, according to the scientists at the EPA itself, who are being hushed in this article, it reads, ProPublica. I'm not really a follower of that. I just happened to cross it.
Yep.
But yeah, it seems that pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah, and I'll give you one more scenario that as I put my tinfoil hat on, to where this could actually benefit that agenda would be, you roll that out to all fuel, and then the next statement is, hey, fuel's going to kill you, you got to go electric.
You got to go electric. I don't know. Maybe that is the underlying tinfoil hat reasoning behind it. Now, I personally am a fan of electric, but at the same time, the mining processes that it takes to get those materials is extremely impactful, and it is modern day slave labor in a lot of these countries that are having the minerals mined from it. It's not this friendly hug a polar bear process that people think it is, or not even people. Some people.
Right. No, I totally agree. There's a lot. Again, anytime a decision like that's made, you have to dig through and start pulling back layers to figure out why, how is that important? So whether it's electric vehicles, whether it's the fuel additives, whether it's, all that affects everybody on both sides. Now, for this particular one, if you never go to the lake, you're fine, right? At least for now. But we start talking electric cars and how they're putting restrictions on car manufacturers and what they can produce and how many of gas motors versus hybrid versus full electric. That's where you get into a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. And the cobalt mines, I don't know if you've ever seen them. Have you ever seen these cobalt mines?
Oh, yeah. They're
Absolutely.
massive.
Well, and it is
terrible.
I don't even know how to describe it. The human disparity here. Like, here's an image. Let me see if I can share this. And I'm not sure with this. We've never done this before. We're breaking new ground.
First time.
Let me share this with you. Look at this. Cobalt mines. And I can panda this on the podcast. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But it is just a sea of people as far as the eye can see. And I'm not exactly sure how to describe that.
Oh, wow. I saw it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's impactful.
They need, so it sounds like the cobalt industry needs some automation and some some sort of commerce to get that stuff out of the ground better without having to use so much labor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Oh, you
They
got
need
me
a
there,
way.
you are, bro.
Yep. They need a
Yeah.
way to make that process. They need to use machines and other things. So there must be a reason they have to use a lot of people, but you never know
Yeah,
what
I
you're going
think
to learn on tangible commerce.
you never know what you're going to learn on intangible commerce. I think a lot of that's got to do with just the place that it's in, right? It's in the Congo, it's in the
Sure.
DNR, so it's
Right.
not necessarily geared towards automation and heavy machinery and this kind of operation. It seems they'd rather
Oh,
use
yeah.
cheap people labor than
Yep.
than automated labor or more efficient labor.
That's right.
And I don't know who runs this operation. Like, is this who the companies that are buying? When you think about that chain, right? Like that supply chain, I buy a laptop, but inside that laptop, there's parts that came from all over the place,
Right.
all over the world, even. Where did they come from?
That's
Who
right.
made them? Who made the battery? Where did
That's
all
right.
that come from? That
The
whole
packaging.
chain, right? The packaging, the screen, the plastic frame. Where did it come from?
That's where if you start to unpack that, it can really drive your brain crazy when you think about the supply chain around a laptop's a good one to use because there's so many pieces to it. Starting with the polymer that made the outside of it and made the keys, and then you got all the there's gold and silver I'm sure in there at some level of connections they have to make and different types of solders and leads and I mean it's amazing. It just you can't even think of it like that because if you do, you start to realize that it's probably really cheap. We think it's expensive, but it's probably not when you think about what it took to bake it.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like to understand and purchase from companies who are conscious and cognizant of other people in the way that
Yes.
some of this is just flat out labor that I don't want to call it slave labor, but it certainly is cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap. That's right. It is labor that is being paid for by not using any type of standards per hour. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally agree with that. And we are moving into let's lighten the mood a little bit. Let's bring in some positive news from around the internet corner here. What do we got going on that's impacting your world today, Dave?
Well, in my world, I'm all about watching how different companies are reacting to the economic times. That probably is a theme we talk about almost on every episode, but I just had another company I know of. I'm not mentioning any names, but I have a family member that works for them, and they are ditching they're selling off their entire brand and laying off most of their workforce.
Dang.
And it's like, wow, where did that come from? And they're in the cosmetic world, and it's just like, how many more of those do you hear about, or how many more shakeups do you start to hear about with leadership moving on or being
Like
replaced?
yellow.
Yep. See, same scenario. So, and how many more of those do we not know about either? Sometimes they don't make the news. They're not going to they're only a $20 million company or
Yeah, they're
whatever.
not. Yeah, no one's looking at and paying attention to these
Mm-mm.
smaller. Like we're hearing about yellow. We're hearing about the banks. I mean, you look at the amount of change that's taken place just in
Mm-hmm.
this year alone. It's incredible.
Yep. And I don't know if it's the fact that it's happening more or the fact that we just know about it more, or are we kind of looking for it because we understand that I mean, we are in weird economic times and decisions that are being made now are being made out of necessity, not necessarily out of exploration, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that does. I think also there's just a bit of how do we hold station and how do we hold the status quo? And I'll go back to something again I posted on my LinkedIn for those that don't follow me. There's a lot of good stuff out there on that LinkedIn I've got.
Yeah,
if I
go
do
check
say
it
so
out.
myself, check that out. But UPS recently used an AI enabled program, which they've used for years, I'm sure. But this one caught the wind of the news recently because it was diverting, as we all know. UPS had their whole labor thing going on. You remember that, Dave?
I do.
A bit of a strike warning that was coming, a tsunami warning, if you will.
That's right. They're going to lay
So we
off some
had,
folks.
well, yeah, well, they were that whole labor dispute. So
Yep.
if we look at what they did, they took in reduced labor by 10% as they directed packages to their automated facilities and away from what would be called an analog facility,
Hmm.
which means people is analog, right?
Yep.
It's a computer thinking in terms of analog versus automated, and your analog, ouch.
Imagine
Like,
having that conversation, especially if you know what they're talking about, right?
yeah, well, I'm reading the article and it's like, oh, okay, so humans are when I think analog, and I'm kind of like a audio video sort of buff. Analog signals are the worst signals.
Right. They're the subpar signal that nobody wants because you're using the red and white and yellow
Yep,
plugs, right?
that's the worst possible picture.
Or or a serial
Yeah.
a serial port.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, yikes, analog. I'm
Mm-hmm.
analog. You're analog. We're analog.
Mm-hmm.
We're not automated. But they were able to save some money. And of course, UPS was needing to save some money. Now, you and I had asked a question, and I think, an answer, but I want to spend some time here. So we had asked a question: what happens to that capacity? Because UPS made that decision based on the fact that it was resulting in lower capacity because of the news. So it stands to question: what do you think happened?
To the capacity of what do you mean the capacity?
Yeah, where did it go? The packages that weren't being shipped on UPS, where did they go? We would think they went to
Oh,
FedEx or
or somewhere.
USPS.
Yeah. Well, you
They
think that they'd have to.
they'd have to go somewhere, and you'd stop and take a look at what we had posted about just last week was sort of how greed is stopping ecom, how it's stopping progression, and how companies continuously look for these ways to save money, reduce costs, reduce labor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're doing it through AI. But AI thinks that we're analog.
Hmm.
So at what point do we become human again?
Yeah. That will be a question that will answer itself, but it'll take years for us to realize. I mean, think about the movies that have been done about AI taking over, right? And I'm thinking of like that Will Smith one, um, the I Am Robot one.
Yeah.
Even though I know that's not real, but think about it. It diminished the human race and made these other ones that thought they were better. And it took one to realize that it had feelings to realize, hey, this isn't right, or whatever the storyline was. But I think that's something that, because if you have a brand new toy, you play with it a bunch until A, it breaks, or two, you just lose interest in it.
Yeah.
And to me, this whole AI stuff is a new toy, and everybody's excited about it. I've used it. I've used all the Chat GPT and all that. I love it. I did a review the other day on a house I stayed at, and I used Chat GPT to write it. It sounded good. I'm changed it a little bit to make it my style, but made me sound like I was some Pulitzer Prize winning writer.
Made you sound like Dr. Yarbrough.
Dr. Seuss, but still. But
1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, 4.
4. So, but seriously, I think it's going to take time. I don't think today we can't see we cannot predict what will happen with that technology. But you're right. I don't like the fact that they're considering humans the analog piece of that puzzle.
Well, yeah,
That's
and at
wrong.
what point is it like, hey, man, we're human. you have to have that person behind the AI making those decisions from the human element. But I know businesses don't think that way, and that's how
No.
these businesses got where they are. They
Mm-hmm.
don't think in terms of humans and people and what I call Becky and Ben.
Mm-hmm.
They think in terms of dollars and cents. And
Well, the other
that's where
thing,
the
yeah.
no, go ahead, get into that.
No, I was just gonna say that's where I feel like the mindset has to change to say I want to do more with what I have, not reduce what I have, if that makes sense. So if I'm a business owner, I would love to look at the scenario and go, huh, I'll make this up. I'm shipping 1,000 packages a day. You mean I can get solutions in my warehouse that allow me to ship 5,000 without changing anything?
Other than the solution itself, and probably you're going to label some things differently. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like you got to
but
have that automation
yeah,
piece because of labor,
yeah,
and AI enables us to see those things. I think where I get the most concern is when I pair that with what I understand about how businesses work. And I do have a bit of a bombshell to drop, what I feel like anyway, is proof, evidence, if you will, of this thinking and how this really works. That was loftily provided by us from our friends over at FedEx, who's
hmm,
probably not a friend of the show.
they won't be after this.
They're not gonna like us very much, but it's true, and they can't deny what they've done and said. What they've gone and done, but it affects our backyards the most, you
Yep,
and me, because we both live in logistics hubs.
that's right. That's exactly right. And you can see it. What I can't figure out yet is, though, where I am in DFW, the amount of warehouse space continues to grow. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking rows and rows and rows of outside areas that you would never develop in a million years have now developed, and they're full of not small warehouses, gigantic warehouses.
We're talking like million square feet.
Oh, massive. And it's like,
Yeah.
who? Now they're not, they're still being built, so I can't tell you who's in them. I don't know. But I'm sitting there going, who is going to occupy that?
Yeah, who's jumping in this one? So,
Mm-hmm.
and great parody then. So, in the Dallas Fort Worth area now, there's going to be about 280 fewer FedEx employees in their warehouses. In
Mm-hmm.
my area of up north of me, just here in Indianapolis, about 220 folks are losing their jobs. FedEx has laid off, or well, laid off. It's a nice way of saying we fired
Right.
843 people. 843 is a pretty specific number. So I got to wondering, what does that mean in terms of dollars? So I just took an average employee salary and I thought, okay, maybe they're paying after taxes, benefits, bonuses, etc. Maybe each one of these people is making about $60,000 a year. Probably it's a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit less, but I'm going with an average $60,000
Yep. Yep.
times 843 gives me just over 50 million. So then I start looking and I wondered, well, what is FedEx doing with the extra 50 million? And I found that in Texas, they're building a new facility, that automated facility, and it is going to cost altogether, facility plus equipment. Guess how much? Just
I'm
guess.
rolling.
Just guess. What do you think? I tell you what, wait, do game show style. Game show style.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I'll give you 3 guesses,
Okay.
but the first 2 don't count.
Okay. I think I can do this. The first guess is $2.
Okay.
The second guess is $50.
Ooh, okay.
The third guess, I'm going to go 50 million.
50 million is the winner. That's right. They're laying off 843 people. That's equivalent to about $50 million. And they're building a new facility. And plus the equipment going into it is going to cost, according to themselves, their spokesperson, conservatively, around $50 million. You fire here to move the money over here, And that's how you pay for stuff. That's how business works. At that scale, that's how it
Yep,
works.
that's right. The other thing to keep in mind is they still have to, so no matter how they automate the new space, any company, you still got to have folks to manage and maintain the automation,
That's right.
but but not as many. That's probably a 16th of the amount of employees that you would have had running the operation. So it is interesting. And we've talked about this before, how automation can create backlogs. It can create issues downstream. All this does is create issues where now you need a different style of worker, but you don't need as many.
You don't need anywhere near as many. As a matter of fact, they estimate they're only going to need about 100 people to operate that facility.
Wow.
100.
Interesting.
So
And
you look at that.
the throughput will be way up too. It'll be 5 times probably.
Should be at least 5 times, if not greater, of course, in throughput. Yeah. The whole facility built from the ground up, dedicated to automation. It's a package handling center. So it is small package, which includes e-com and everything else. But
Sure.
it really just highlights, though, how things are done at that level. It's not about, hey, we've got the budget, we're going to spend the budget. No, these bosses and folks, they want to keep their $1 million bonuses. They want to keep their yachts and everything else. So what do? They look at that spreadsheet and go, hey, investors, if we fired about 1,000 people, we'd have the money for that new facility. We wouldn't need to do anything with our rates or nothing.
Wow.
And they love it because,
Yeah.
we don't have to spend any money. Great. Actually, you're reducing costs over the 5-year average by a lot.
Yep. And then you lose that. You alluded to it earlier. You lose that personal touch to people that says those are people's lives. I don't know. I get stuck in between on that because automation brings about the ability to solve complex issues, right? We don't have the cool vehicles we have today unless robots build them. Or you could have them, but it'd take forever to get one, right?
It would cost a hell of a lot more too, and that's what we look at, that cost reduction and stuff to make it more efficient. So here's the big picture, the way I see it, and I need to do some more research on this topic, and I plan on doing an article about it soon. So follow my LinkedIn. That's what, third or fourth plug. I lost count.
You got a lot of plugs.
I got a lot of plugs. I need some. I'm thinning.
You're like a surge protector. You get tons of plugs.
Plugs everywhere. So when you look at the way that works, automation should bring down costs.
Yes.
Because if FedEx is saving that much money, if you look at that average, right, they're talking about annual cost, $50 million. So they're hiring back 100 people. Maybe they'll lose what's not even a third. That's an eighth of what we talked about. So they're still up $40 million plus.
Mm-hmm.
$40 million spread across all of FedEx. I mean, how much would that bring down rates?
Sure.
As they continue this automation, it should help our economy. So it is a good thing. And we do need jobs. It's not like there's any shortage of jobs, but it's not like you can take those people. And here we break into the bigger picture. It's not like you can take a person making $60,000 a year estimation at FedEx and say, hey, you can go now work another job locally in your community. So there's doctors, there's nurses' aides, there's all sorts of jobs that are available. There's truck driving, there's fast food, there's everything. But only a small percentage of those jobs pay a wage that you can live on. And I mean live by going out to eat with your family once or twice a week, going on vacation, enjoying yourself, not being strapped for cash every single day, living paycheck to paycheck every single week. Those jobs are few. And that's what needs to change. But because of greed and because corporates don't want to let go of that money, we can't do that.
Yeah, and it starts to think about it. This could be its own episode on itself. Does these cost savings make its way to the consumer?
Exactly.
And my argument would be it does not. I don't
think it does.
I can't think of a single thing today I'm paying less for because someone decided to automate the production of it. I don't know what it would be.
Me neither.
I mean, I just cannot in my mind think about what it would be.
And that is exactly what I want to explore. And I hope that next week on Intangible Commerce, we'll have some feedback for you guys. As David and we might even look a little different. We're working on some format stuff.
Yep.
You might see a different side of my studio here that you can't see much of.
Yep. We are definitely going to make some changes to make this look a little better. And you never know. I may get a mohawk. No, I'm just kidding. I will not get a mohawk.
I would. That's our thing. I got
That
the
would be
Costco
awesome, though.
thing.
That
I
would be
haven't been to a Costco. What if?
Yeah, no. I guarantee you 100% I would not do that. It would be funny.
Even if we got, what, 1,000 likes?
Oh, 10,000.
10,000. Wait. Okay, so 10,000 is the number.
10,000 is the number
likes,
and I get a mohawk.
And you don't have to cut the hair. Just spike it up into a mohawk, and we gotta go out and do a whole episode.
I'll cut it. I'd cut. No, I wouldn't shave it, but I'd cut it to make a mohawk.
You guys heard it here on Intangible Commerce, and on that bombshell, Dave, send us away.
Another exciting episode of Intangible Commerce. Just came your way. Commerce. Sunday.
E-com away.
See you, everybody.
We're out.